Hey, my name is Matt Storr and I repair saxophones for a living. Today I'm going to do something a little different than I usually do. Usually I do a overview of an instrument after I've overhauled it. Today I'm going to give you part one of a indeterminate part series showing you the process as I overhaul a Conn F mezzo-soprano model 24M saxophone. Now this saxophone is basically an alto saxophone in the key of F rather than E flat. So it plays one whole step higher for the same fingerings. This was made in 1928, and you can see it's basically the same. There's one interesting thing here. This is made in the Conn New Wonder Series 2 serial range, and most of the keywork looks very similar, with the exception of this bis, which is actually very comfortable. Now and also you've got same side bell keys on the left, which is didn't actually show up in the rest of the saxophone line until the 6M, 10M series later on. So that is unique in the New Wonder Series 2 for the F mezzo-soprano. Now this was made in 1928, and two things were going on in 1928 that were to come together to make this saxophone not last as long as it might have otherwise. The first thing that was happening was the saxophone craze of the 1920s was coming to an end. There was actually a saxophone craze of the 20s, much like the electric guitar craze of the 80s and 90s. Saxophones had a similar heyday. In fact, at the height of it, Conn was selling around 15,000 instruments a year. But the sax craze was coming to an end, and then in 1928 also the stock market crash that led to the Great Depression. So musical instruments, which are by and large a luxury item, production fell off dramatically, especially production of models that were, I don't want to say gimmicky, but they didn't have as much music written for them, and it was really kind of a new idea that was going to need to be pushed to have acceptance. But people just weren't into getting new saxophones that didn't have any music written for them at the time, and that were also fairly expensive. So the end of the saxophone craze and the stock market crash killed the F mezzo-soprano. You don't see too many of these. This one is in very good shape, and they play great. I mean, it's a completely thought-out model. You know, it's not like they just kind of tacked together, and added an extra key on another sax or something like that, or gave it a different finish, or some new key work on an old body tube. This is a completely designed saxophone. It's a completely different key. It's actually a different size, and it even has its own mouthpiece. This is an original mouthpiece that came with it. Someone took a saw to the roll here, so it's a little stubbier than it would look normally. But a regular alto mouthpiece will not work on these. So this is the original mouthpiece. And then for size comparison, I can show you here a alto, E-flat alto saxophone. So you can see with the neck removed what the F mezzo and the E-flat alto saxophone look like. So there is a considerable size difference. And interestingly, this saxophone here, this alto, is actually built later than this one. By several years, but you can see this still has the split bell keys. But you can see the rest of it, the G-sharp cluster with the nail file G-sharp, the G-sharp trill key, the fork E-flat exists on both. The palm keys also look similar, and the octave mechanism is the same. So I have not overhauled this yet. I'm actually going to be overhauling it, something I'm very excited about. I am very lucky in that I get to see a lot of really unique and interesting vintage saxophones, and when I'm done overhauling them, I get to play them when they're in really, really good shape. But it's not super often that I see something quite as unique and as rare and different from other saxophones I get to play as a Conn F mezzo-soprano. So as I go through and overhaul this, once I've got it apart, I'll make another video, show you what I see and maybe a little bit of what goes into the process. and then when I'm done, I'll do an overview, and unlike most of mine, I'll actually play this one a little bit for you. I usually don't make sound recordings because I think that the sound quality on my camera and also the sound quality in YouTube is just awful, so you can't really hear too much of a difference between horns. But since this is in a completely different key, it has a different timbre when playing the same song than a normal alto saxophone. So that is something that even with YouTube's crappy audio quality and my crappy camera, that you will be able to hear. So I'll go ahead and play this for you a little bit, just probably a scale or something like that, or maybe a recognizable song, so you can hear what the difference is. So that is Kahn's 1928 F mezzo-soprano saxophone. A very unique and rare saxophone you do not see very often. Completely different and distinct from the E-flat alto, sounding a whole tone higher for the same note. And unfortunately, this saxophone never really caught on. It was a victim of the end of the saxophone craze and the Great Depression. And not a whole lot of them made it through till today, especially ones in such beautiful shape as this one. So that's it for today. Keep looking for the next installment of this particular video. Probably I won't be getting into this for a little while, maybe another month or two. I have a very long backlog of repairs, and even something as awesome as this has to wait till I've got my other stuff done. But as soon as I have got it underway, I will post another video. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please feel free to get in touch. You can leave a comment here. You can check out my website at storemusic.com, S-T-O-H-R-E-R music.com, where you can email me, call me, get in touch in any way you see fit. I love talking about saxophones, so if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. Thanks for watching.